well, it's kind of annoying sound anyway. The soundtrack's kind of annoying anyway. But the point being that, you know, the United States government put out this piece of propaganda way back in the day to inspire, to, you know, push the failed public policy of war on cannabis, this natural resource. And so this sort of sophisticated propaganda effort, you know, still has long-lasting effects, apparently. We wouldn't think so. It looks so outdated in some of the claims, and it's really quite an outrageous depiction of the effects of cannabis. So let me introduce myself. My name is Thomas Levine. I'm an attorney with Cannabis Counsel Law Firm. Since 1999, they've been doing nothing but cannabis law. I joined in 2010. My partner Matthew Abel started the firm. And I was on the board of MI Legalize that was on the coalition to regulate marijuana like alcohol to get this thing legalized. So we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary of adult use marijuana here in Michigan. And it's an exciting time. We have of course some great guests here, and I'm going to hand it over to Pam right now.
Okay, thank you for coming, everyone. My name is Pam Hall, and I will be the moderator for this Cannabis Town Hall, hosted by the Progressives. We are fortunate tonight to have several experts from the cannabis industry here. LARA regulations and opting in will be discussed on how that's working in neighboring communities. This event is being filmed by MCTV, a nonprofit station, and YouTube links as well as podcasts will be available to share. Tonight we have Jerry Spencer from NORML, which stands for National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws and was founded in 1970. Jerry is from Hemlock, Michigan.
How's everybody doing? Great. Yeah, my organization is the Great Lakes Bay Region NORML chapter. My chapter deals with the Bay and Midland and Saginaw counties, and what we do, we're actually the political part of the marijuana reform, and we deal with all the boards and the say our governor and the different political parts of the marijuana law that we put in place. And also we deal with the citizens, especially with me, and ours deals with those areas I just mentioned. We deal with the citizens for complaints or anything like that. We have monthly meetings and everything so that everybody knows what's going on in those areas with the marijuana businesses that may be there, grow-ops that may be there. Any complaints about what could be going on, that market and stuff like that, which, you know, I feel that we're trying to cut down on that market. So having a legal 21 and over business in your area is great to help keep the black markets down to where we're going to already have enough in the black markets when it comes to underage. We don't need to have a black market when it comes to 21 and over neither. So, you know, and my organization will help to try to keep that down and answer complaints and everything at the meetings that we have every month. And we'll be advertising these meetings on Facebook, our web pages, and different things like that to help with the citizens in these areas to comply with the law enforcement and our community there. And that's basically what we do now. The Michigan NORML itself, the state of Michigan NORML itself, regulates everything around Michigan, the political areas and different things like that. But like I said, the Great Lakes Bay Region NORML chapter, which is my chapter, deals with Midland County and Saginaw County and Bay County. And that's, when you have problems there or anything like that, but my chapter is the one that you can come to. And also, we also take care of also people that have been unjustifiably, put in jail or anything like that. We try to get lawyers, like, down here, we go to them and see if he could help or whatever could help with the problem. And we always do our best to make sure we get the legal help before we make any justified decisions or anything like that. So, but that's basically what my chapter does.
Okay, and so some of these questions here and working with the law community, and you mentioned having a board that you deal with, as well as how you work with the different political parties in the area.
Yes,
Anything you want to?
different boards in the area, but that's why we have monthly meetings, is so they have of course they also could get a hold of me anytime, 24/7, all political parties have a number, so they would get a hold of me if anything comes up that I may have to raise in an emergency kind of situation, which, hopefully none occurs. But yes, so, at any time they get a hold of me if anything comes up that needs to be taken care of right away. But otherwise, at the monthly meetings, they can come in. It's a public monthly meeting. Everybody can come in and have their complaints or have ideas or whatever they want, join my chapter or whatever they want to do at these monthly meetings. And we take care of it all and keep everybody informed. And whoever wants to give us their emails and all that stuff, we'll keep up with their emails and stuff on the progress that we're making.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and pass the mic over to Tom. I'm going to read an intro for Tom Levine. And Tom M.J. Levine, JD, is a partner at the law firm of Cannabis Counsel with 5 attorneys and 5 of counsel, founded in 1999 as a niche cannabis-only law firm and the epicenter of the Michigan cannabis movement, out from which ballot initiatives and lobbying efforts were orchestrated, wrangled over, and achieved. So Lawyer Levine was Secretary of Michigan Legal, or MI Legalize, Ballot Question Committee Grassroots Coalition member of the Coalition to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, which got the adult use law on the ballot and passed in Michigan. He is on the National Lawyers Committee of NORML and the International Cannabis Bar Association. He's a member of the Representative Assembly for the 3rd Circuit within the State Bar of Michigan. He is a leadership council member of the marijuana law section of the State Bar of Michigan. Levine practiced law in Hawaii, North Carolina, and in Midland, Michigan, as an associate with the law firm of Riker, Van Dam, Barker, and Black in the late 90s, prior to joining as general counsel in-house with Idea Core, a business improvement methodologies software and consulting company in Birmingham, Michigan. Prior to joining Cannabis Counsel together with partners Matthew Abel, founder, 1999, and Cisco and Associates, Julia Gilbert and Sean Myers. Lawyer Levine provides legal, regulatory compliance advice to businesses pursuing commercial licenses pursuant to the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act and the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, and general business law and business improvement advice. So Tom, I have a couple questions for you, and that is, what are the various Michigan cannabis laws in effect now?
Well, we started with the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act that came into effect in 2008, and that set up the patients and caregivers, who are now the only customers under the Michigan Medical Facilities Licensing Act. The Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act are the stores that are open now. All the grows and retail stores and processors are under that act. The adult use, that was passed by the legislature. Then the initiative passed last year, November of 2018, making adult use 21 or older legal to possess up to 2.5 ounces, and the entire harvest of your 12 plants, plus 10 ounces that you may have been gifted or purchased at marijuana retailers under lock and key. Anything over 2.5 ounces must be under lock and key, and 15 grams of concentrate. So that's legal right now. Beginning the start of November 1st, the state began accepting applications for commercial establishments and to obtain licenses to sell or process, make extractions, make topicals, for example. There's many uses for this incredible natural resource that we've been denied of for so long. It can indeed, in large part, replace the petroleum-based products economy that we live on right now. The hemp-based product economy is much more sustainable. It's more ecologically sound. Everything that we make plastic out of, we can be making out of industrial hemp. And the medical effects are broad-based in terms of the medical marijuana attributes. And the side effects are no comparison to the big pharma lists that we all hear on television every day that are just absurd that you can call those side effects. I would call them defects. A pill that makes you want to kill yourself is a defective pill. So cannabis does not have such a defect. There is no overdose level. And I know this community might be reluctant to adopt these licenses, thinking that they're doing what's best for the kids, you know. But actually, it's allowing the black market to continue to operate on your streets. It's actually irresponsible. You're better off allowing for the marijuana retailer stores that can sell to any adult. They're not going to risk their license by selling to a minor. These are very valuable licenses. It's highly regulated. Everything will be tested, as it is now. Everything tested and labeled. This is the safest alternative. We have to understand this, you know, parents and everything. The children have access right now. In every high school, you know, they have access, but it's not tested, and it's not, you know, and those dealers sell more than one kind of drug, unfortunately. Oh, I'm on this, or on a pill instead. This isn't good. They need to be driven out of town. The way to do it is to allow for these regulated industries, because the reason why it dries up the market for that black market. And in Michigan in particular, we took lessons from the other states that had legalized before us. They failed in driving out the black market because the taxes are so high. So we kept ours at 10%, and that's what works. It worked in Uruguay in a successful way, and it's working here. So to allow for provisioning centers, that's the retail aspect of the act that can only sell to patients and caregivers, and then marijuana retailer licenses will be issued to those same retail establishments, and they'll be able to sell to anybody with a driver's license. So it'll be any state, any country, just picture ID that they're 21 years old or older. Now, given that we're the only ones in the Midwest, this should stimulate tourism in Michigan substantially. And the business opportunities in this space are magnificent. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that's just opening up. This doesn't happen but once in a lifetime. So, you know, some of the adult use licenses are less expensive, and you don't require a minimum capitalization like you do under the medical facilities licenses. To get a 1,500 plant grow, you had to have a $500,000 minimum capitalization. Only 25% of that liquid and the rest could be equity and real estate. But still, if that's an obstacle, or if that was an obstacle, looking at the adult use commercial licenses might be an option. They have some licenses as inexpensive as, $8,000 and $4,000. A 100 plant grow, it's $4,000 license fee. They all start with a $6,000 application fee. So the state is really regulating this intensely. They come and make random inspections. Everything is tracked on the computer, so no diversion will be allowed. It's all RFID tracked, right from the seed to the sale. And there's limitations on the amount that can be bought per day for patients and per month for patients and caregivers. And then for adults, it's per transaction, 2.5 ounces. But you're well within your rights right now to grow 12 plants at your residence. As an adult, any adult can grow up to 12 plants per residence, but a total of 12 no matter how many adults live there, and no matter whether there's patients or caregivers there. If you're doing the adult 12, there can only be a total of 12 per residence.
Okay, Tom, there's a couple more questions here. Is marijuana a gateway drug?
No, in fact, the most recent evidence is that it's an exit drug for opioids. And we're amidst a crisis. And so another reason to allow for this.
Does marijuana increase crime?
No, in Los Angeles, they shut down 100 dispensaries, crime spiked. And then when they allowed them to reopen, it went down. The reason being, these are highly regulated. There's like sophisticated security systems on all these things, including exterior cameras required by under the regs. So they share with the police whatever footage of any criminal activity in the area. And so that actually makes the areas safer.
Is marijuana's medical efficacy well researched?
Oh yes, marijuana's efficacy is well researched. If you look on PubMed and Research Cannabis, there's like 35,000 research documents out there showing positive effects on a broad range of matters. This has been a big lie that there isn't research. Science doesn't end at the United States borders. There are medical schools in Israel. Science exists outside of the United States. We don't stand still.
Does marijuana legalization cause an increase or decrease in road fatalities?
Actually a decrease. The evidence shows that, and my postulation is that, a bunch of kids, college kids, now they have an option. Instead of going to the bar and drinking, they can get some marijuana and when people are under the influence of marijuana, they're more likely to be self-reflective enough to not drive, like make the decision, no, I'm a little too high, I'm not going to drive. Whereas alcohol, you do the opposite, you make the dumb decision to drive.
What is allowed under Michigan's adult use law passed by the ballot initiative and effective December 6, 2018?
Yes, so we're already in effect, last December, the whole 2.5 ounces, and keeping the entire harvest of the 12 plants is an important detail. That much has to be kept under lock and key. So anything more than 2.5 ounces has to be like locked in a closet, for example.
What is not allowed?
What is not allowed is smoking in public. And you're not allowed to drive any vehicles under the influence. And you're not allowed to consume any marijuana products or passengers in a vehicle. There's broad immunities, however, and I'm proud that we have contributed to ending the mass incarceration that this failed policy has put so many people in prison for. It's just been reckless and split up so many families and affected so many children of these largely black men. I mean, it was a war against African Americans. The disproportionality is absurd. Read Michelle Alexander's well-researched book, Ohio State University professor, The New Jim Crow.
Thank you, Thomas. So next we have Trevor Wisniewski and Sarah Foss from the Great Lakes Natural Remedies, Inc., located in the Tri-City area. Sarah Foss is Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for Great Lakes Natural Remedies, Inc., with a background in psychology. Sarah has a passion for the human element of the cannabis plant. Over the last 7 years, she has worked in the legal cannabis industry, managing several successful cannabis dispensaries and hosting education-based cannabis tours. Trevor Wisniewski, CEO of Great Lakes Natural Remedies, Inc. Trevor holds both bachelor's and master's degrees. Trevor has been a successful entrepreneur for the past 25 years that include 2 years experience in commercial cannabis. So who is GLNR and what benefit do we bring to the community?
Thanks, Pam. So Great Lakes Natural Remedies, we're a Michigan-based cannabis company, and we're vertically integrated. And what that means is we're seed to sale. So we grow, process, and dispense cannabis to patients and consumers in Michigan. As for the benefit,
as for our benefit, we do provide clean, quality, tested cannabis and cannabis products to the community, patients, and eventually, once recreational license, consumers over the age of 21. We're bringing jobs to the communities that we work in with a varying range of pay. We also are backing our community where we give donations, and we also help put money into beautification efforts into the communities that we're in.
How does the cannabis business work seed to sale?
now this is a great question because a lot of people don't understand the business. There's 5 main licenses that are available. We're going to go over all 5 real quick. First is cultivation, which is growing, then processing the product, testing the product, transporting the product, and then dispensing the product. And the product is cannabis. So first off, you grow the seed or a clone, and once it gets to a certain height, it actually gets an ID tag. And this ID tag is like the social security number for that plant, and it sticks with that plant from seed to sale. So once it gets to harvest time, and the flower room cuts the plant off to hang it to dry, it will then go into the processor. So the processor will take that cannabis product and extract oil and make products out of it, such as lotions or salves and oil for edibles. But that doesn't stop there because right now they'll have an end product, but now it needs to be tested. So the 3rd license is testing. And the product had already gone through a couple levels of testing, but this is the final test before it goes to the consumer. And once it tests and it passes, then that processor has to label every single package with all the testing results, so the consumer knows exactly what they're getting. The next step is to transport and dispense.
So the secure transporter will then take that product with its own metric tag, which, as Tom had mentioned before, is RFID scannable. So that means that the state can come in, scan the vehicle, and pick up every single package and know exactly what's in there and what quantities. It's then transported by these armed guards to a provisioning center or a retail space. In there, they'll accept the product, they'll count it, and then that's where they'll sell it. Within that, they have a variety of products that have been transported, like Trevor had mentioned. That's topicals, edibles, concentrates that are then sold in that store to anyone with a medical card at this point or anyone with an ID over the age of 21.
What kind of job opportunities are there?
There's a wide range of job opportunities in the cannabis industry that range from kind of your lower level positions like trimmers or packagers all the way up to upper management. These jobs can range anywhere from starting at $12 an hour all the way to higher level executives making over $100,000 a year. Within these jobs, there's a lot of opportunity to grow since it is a fairly new industry. A lot of people can come in starting as trimmers and work their way up into that upper level management within a short period of time, usually a few years.
What type of products do you sell and where do they source from?
The types of cannabis products, as Trevor had kind of mentioned, include edibles, concentrates, topicals, vape pens, and then your bud or the flower product that is generally smoked. These products are all, like Trevor said, cleaned and tested at multiple points, so that way it's safe for the consumer's consumption, that they know it's not going to have any heavy metals or pesticides or anything that could be dangerous to consume. All of these products do have a wide range and wide spectrum of different elements in the cannabis plant. It's not just the THC and the CBD, but it's also the terpenes and the cannabinoids that really create that medicinal
I
benefit.
think you just answered what steps do you take to keep the patients and consumers safe.
Yeah, not only is it the testing, but there also are 3 points of security at all of these facilities as well. This includes physical security of the building and fences, structural, as well as technological. Like Tom had mentioned, there are cameras that cover all areas of the cannabis facility, both inside and out.
What are some of the struggles in the industry facing both in Michigan and federally?
Right, so you can imagine we have some struggles seeing that it's federally legal, right? So in Michigan, it's such a new market that we have an extreme lack of supply. And growers are coming on every day, and the problem is it's very expensive to build a cultivation facility and to staff it. And then once you actually start growing, you might not be able to sell that product for a good 5 to 6 months after that. So there's a long lead time and a lot of money to be able to actually get into cultivation. But the market, they're trying to work on it here in Michigan in that we are a licensed grower. We're able to actually buy caregiver product, get it tested, and put into the system to help the supply. The other big struggle right now is the testing labs. Because Michigan is so adamant about making sure this is safe for the consumer, and it gets tested at several levels, we have 4 main labs, and a lot of them are backed up to a month to get your testing results back. So once you send your product out for testing, you can't do anything with it. It has to stay in your vault until you get your testing results back. Then you can tag it and then get it out to the secure transport to the dispensaries. So this is really taking, it's hurting the whole logistical supply to the Michigan market right now. As federally, you know, this is a very large bipartisan topic. You know, the main thing that we're facing right now federally is that it's illegal. So they are working on some bills for banking to, you know, open up the banking with Michigan or the states that have opted into this. But most importantly, what I want you to understand is you have a Democrat, Senator Warren, who is sponsoring a bipartisan bill to legalize cannabis federally within states that have opted in. And then on the other side of the coin, you have Mr. John Boehner, the conservative Republican under Obama, who is a director on the board of directors for the largest cannabis investment company in America. And he is constantly in Washington trying to lobby to get this legalized as well. So they're trying on both sides of the house, and hopefully something will help to ease our pain.
Is there anything you think the public should not be aware of in regards to cannabis that they may not already know or have a misconception about?
I think we've kind of mentioned a few times that this is a highly regulated market with consumer safety in mind. This isn't just people growing plants outside and then selling it. It's getting tested, it's clean, it's regulated. There's surprise inspections that come into all these facilities to make sure that they're operating correctly and safely with the consumer in mind. That cannabis products, not all of them produce the general psychoactivity or the high that most people expect. We had mentioned that there's topicals and lotions and salves that people with arthritis can use that don't produce any of this psychoactivity, so you can go about your day, operate a vehicle, and not have any impairment involved with it. As Tom had mentioned, it is impossible to overdose on cannabis products. That is actually an exit drug instead of a gateway drug, that it's helping people that are dealing with addiction to opiates and other pills that have been overprescribed here in the country, helping them to get off of that and lead a better, healthier life without creating an addiction to a new product. And that this plant and its products can help a wide range of ailments besides just chronic pain. It helps with Parkinson's, it helps with ADHD, it helps with OCD, IBD, Crohn's disease, I mean,
Menopause.
Pardon?
Menopause.
And menopause and other ailments. I mean, there is a wide variety of people it helps other than what you typically expect for that chronic pain. OCD, Tourette's, I mean, the list goes on. And then the other element, it's not just benefiting humans, but it also helps benefit pets. People are using it for their dogs, cats, horses, pigs, you name it. It helps with the ailments and different issues that, you know, our loved furry friends deal with as well.
Well, thank you, Sarah. And our next panelist is Michael E. Thu. He is a certified medical assistant, member of the American Association of Medical Assistants. Michael is the CEO and founder of Great Lakes Hemp Supplements, LLC, and Center for Compassion, LLC. He gained valuable experience in the cannabis industry by founding the first 501(c) nonprofit Compassion Center in Traverse City, Michigan, formerly the Grand Traverse Compassion Connection in 2009. Michael has over 20 years of experience with using cannabis as medicine in a vast variety of alternative forms, including GI tube, vaporization, topical use, and more. Michael has also dedicated his life to Christian services and was a founding board member of the Northern Michigan Decotech, which is a Christian retreat weekend for teenagers. Decotech stands for Declares Teens Encounter Christ. Decotech has been an active part of the community for over 17 years now in Northern Michigan. Michael has always had a passion for working with and helping children. In his youth, he was a paid child care worker for the Church of the Nazarene and also declares monthly gatherings. After high school, he went on traveling as a youth evangelist intern with Crossdale Ministries, where he was preaching and teaching in a number of different churches and youth Bible camps across the Midwest. Michael is the Midwest CBD Authority. Michael has had the honor of educating in the vast areas of medical cannabis, CBD, and the endocannabinoid system at several conferences across the country for over the past 6 years. Michael had the honor of presenting at Pittsburgh's first World Medical Cannabis Conference and Expo, teaching physicians interested in the medical cannabis program for their own patients on how to establish appropriate doses and treatment options. Michael has also spoken at multiple Michigan medical marijuana conferences in Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, as well as Cobo Hall in Detroit, Michigan for the Counterculture Expo. Michael also had the privilege of presenting for Seed and Water Blessing at Serpent Mound in southern Ohio's Mound Builder region for Spring Solstice Celebration in 2013 and 2016 on the benefits of cannabis as an alternative medicine and medicinal alchemy. Michael has completed his associate's degree as a medical assistant at Baker University, where he graduated in June of 2017. Michael is a member of AAMA, Oncology Nurses Society, had the privilege of doing his clinical externship for months in healthcare and the unique opportunity of spending a couple weeks in each of the following departments: infectious disease, endocrinology, neurosurgery, urology, and oncology. Michael has completed 2 accredited continuing education courses for nurses by Patients Out of Time entitled Endocannabinoid System in Cannabis, What Nurses Need to Know. Michael has vast hands-on knowledge in guiding patients through the physician evaluation and certification process for the Michigan Medical Marijuana Program and has aided in countless patients' follow-up and care. With Michael's continued work in CBD edibles, he was able to take home a 3rd place victory in the Best High Edible CBD category at the 2015 High Times U.S. Cannabis Cup in Denver, Colorado, yoo-hoo, as well as a Best CBD Edible Crystal Trichrome Award at the 2016 Cannabis Quest Expo. Welcome, Michael. Thank you for coming. How can cannabis be used safe and effectively?
Hello, Pam, and thanks for having me with you guys tonight.
So I have had multiple opportunities of guiding patients as well as healthcare providers and educating them how to use cannabis safe and effectively. As mentioned earlier, topicals is one way that you can use THC and even use high levels of THC sometimes to treat, for one instance, to treat a tumor. If you have a tumor that you can see or have access to, being able to apply a topical to that area leads it directly to the source. And you can increase the levels beyond what somebody may be able to eat safely without experiencing, we talk about no overdoses, but you're not going to overdose to the point of dying, but overdosing to the point of having a negative experience has sent people to the hospital. So that still is a negative side effect. So we can do that with topicals without having it pass the blood-to-brain barrier, so there's no psychoactivity or euphoric effect that exists when using, and that allows you again to be able to use very increased doses to treat this location. Another way we do that is using THC-8. THC-8 in an acid form there's a lot of research about juicing the plant, using it, eating it. Now even with hemp, we're looking at microgreens and using hemp and adding it into the diet as like a fresh lettuce, which also then is the CBD side of the things as well. So CBD typically is derived from high CBD medical cannabis strains, which if under 0.3% are considered hemp. We do have that ability now as well to cultivate in Michigan. So CBD is a very safe and effective way. As you've probably heard, it's been a lot of talk this year. It really hit the market really hard this year. You can get it anywhere. There's no age restrictions associated with CBD. That's how safe that it is. CBD was our first approach in working with children outside of THCA. THCA was the first thing that we knew. We knew that if we didn't activate it, we could minimize and keep it from getting them high and use it in the form of a tincture. Once we learned more about the CBD plants, my partner and I, Dr. Ed, were able to take the CBD plants over the last 9 years and really do research with them in Michigan and establish how we can safely and effectively use them to treat seizures. Or another case we had, it was in the beginning, was a 4-year-old with brain cancer. So having them be able to come in and ask for their cannabis medicine without getting them high and still being able to have them have a productive, even if it was end of life stages, still being able to have a quality of life all the way up to the very end.
That was a 4-year-old you were talking about just then. So how effective is medical cannabis in replacing opiate pain medications?
Dr. Sanjay Gupta did a good episode, I believe it was Weed 4, a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe longer now. But it really talks about how the endocannabinoid system and how the opiates play on that same type of system, the receptors. So they work very effectively. The national average across the country is a 65% or better reduction in opiate pain medications in the states that have legalized medical marijuana. We have seen it within our own practice. The Center for Compassion is a medical marijuana certification clinic that specializes in personal consultations. So we have seen that and established that with many of our own patients, but more specifically and recently this year, about 2 months ago, I was called in to speak and asked to speak at Grand Traverse Orthopedics. It's a surgery center practice in Traverse City, Michigan. And one of our customers, a patient of ours at our clinic, went through a knee surgery, a total knee replacement, and she denied all of the opiate medications and only used a CBD tincture, which is oral sublingual under the tongue, as well as our CBD topical. We make a holy massage oil that's referenced out of the book of Exodus. It's very effective. It was the first product I ever made, and it still maintains as one of our staple products. Those 2 products got her through a total knee replacement, and the practice was so surprised by that they had called me in to do an in-service and training. I've done many of those now throughout the years, teaching physicians and from how to read lab reports to how to establish dosing and treatment, different forms and options that are available.
Okay, so that was, your experience with using cannabis as medicine. What is the community impact from opting out of medical cannabis facilities?
In this area, the taxes, you probably don't have to worry about compared to the other tri-city counties or townships, right? Midland has, a good source for tax revenue. So besides that conversation, we could increase that. You can always use a little bit more money, but it's the benefit to the community. Right now, if you, by opting out or not having any safe access locations or medical cannabis facilities within the area, you're forcing your patients to drive drive quite a distance to go to another surrounding community. So you're forcing them to drive over to Bay City or down to Flint to try to have access to safe and effective medicine versus supplying and offering the citizens that a majority of them have voted for medical marijuana laws and want this to take place in the community. So it really is, as government officials, you need to consider what your constituents are wanting, what they are voting for, and if you aren't going to consider that, you need to look at how they're going to replace you next term.
Thank you. And what is the current status of hemp farming in Michigan?
In 2014, we passed the Farm Bill, and Michigan passed 2 acts that allowed hemp farming to begin. Unfortunately, the governor kind of didn't allow any movement or progress. It required restrictions that you had to be backed by a college or university. In 2018, with the Adult Use Act, it opened up for hemp to be legal as well and hemp farming to take place again. Right now, Michigan has a hemp program that's in its 2nd year. So we have renewed our license and we are entering the 2nd year of the Michigan hemp program. It still is technically done under a pilot program because we're still waiting on the USDA to finish their rules. They had just closed a 30-day period for comments after initiating their temporary or ideal rules, interim rules. So now we're seeing that open up. The states that don't have a program are allowed to apply directly to the USDA. So we'll see a little bit more oversight coming with that we'll have a state-approved program. But until the state of Michigan's program is approved, which will probably take another, at least I'm going to guess 60 to 90 days because of the holidays, we will continue to operate under the pilot program. The pilot program still allows you to grow. It's a $100 license fee or application fee with the Department of Agriculture. The Department of Agriculture has been very open and willing to work with the hemp community this year to answer questions. You can call them and get any of your questions that you may have. You can get it directly from the source, hear it from them. They've just been excellent about being involved with the community, coming out to events, and really helping to expand that program. It's unique and it's a kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, if even once in a lifetime, to have this kind of a new industry take shape. Everything from seeds, clones, genetics, processing into final products, to there's a company in Grand Rapids that I'm looking to work with that can replace 33% of the plastic polymer with using hemp byproduct. So even the spent material has a use even after the extraction, down to animal bedding, fiber, protein powders, to the plastics replacements, hemp oil as a biofuel, the building materials, houses. So it's really kind of an endless industry. It's a little, right now there's not a lot of infrastructure, so it's kind of been tough for farmers. You want to really make sure that you have an outlet, a buyer for your stuff before you plant. Even that, some of the people have still had contracts that have been unfulfilled, but it is an industry that is going to grow, and it is going to grow rapidly. There's people that are putting in, companies that are putting in a fair amount of money in Michigan to see that infrastructure grow, and within the next couple of years, it'll really be, I believe, more beneficial for the farmers to get in. It is something to look at this year if you know where to reach out and have an outlet for that. I do still know a fair amount of farmers that are sitting on crops though from this last year. Hopefully come spring, and as people have processed what they've originally grown themselves, the processors will be looking and getting product from other farmers. But it is a very fast growing industry, and it's something that the state is really open and willing to work with us on. Michigan State has gotten involved in the second half of this year as well to give some guidance and leadership a little bit to guiding the farmers through the cultivation and grow process of the hemp. Again, with that, hemp is where we derive the majority of the CBD products. So right now, that's the industry that's the biggest part of hemp, is cultivating for CBD. Right now, we import billions of dollars a year with the hemp from China, so we are hoping to change that. But it's infrastructure, being able to have the processing facilities put in place here so that way we can support the farmers and keep that money within the United States. But again, this is like the first year federally that hemp farmers are legally allowed to do this without the fear of these old reefer madness videos. Throughout history, hemp has been used. Even though they put it out in reefer madness, they did pull out during World War II, and they gave a marijuana tax stamp once again in order that farmers cultivate hemp because it made the strongest rope in sales that were used for the war effort. As soon as the war was over and it wasn't to the government's benefit, and they didn't have a way to tax it, it was illegal again. So it's finally getting its rightful place back.
Thank you, Michael. We had another guest that couldn't make it tonight, Dr. Dave, who from CBD Solutions, which also addresses the natural compounds found in cannabis plants known to aid with anxiety and depression, sleep disorders, bone strength, arthritis, multiple sclerosis, cancer, tumor growth, inflammation, and PTSD. And then there was somebody that had said they would try to make it in his stead, and he wasn't able to, but I'm going to give him a shout out. His name is Sam from Third Coast Cultivators in Lyon, Michigan. And now I'm going to have the question and answer period opportunity for the audience. If you have any questions for our panel, you can bring the microphone, come up to this microphone here, or we can bring it over to you if you have trouble getting to the side. Does anybody have any questions for the panel?
I'm not sure who to ask this of, but what are the various cities in the area doing about licensing?
I know Colin is allowing them, and Bay City is allowing them. There's probably about 60 cities and townships at least that have adopted it. The city of Saginaw also.
Saginaw,
what's that?
not Midland?
Not Midland,
Okay.
no. The village of Chesaning, they have a lot of operations going on down there. In fact, somebody from Midland here opened a big operation down there. Yeah, and then Detroit. And
Is there anything that can be done politically to help?
Well, we embedded within the ballot initiative the right to petition, and you only have to get 5% of the population signatures on a petition in order to put it on the ballot and put it to a vote to the people. So we could do that. There is a deadline, you have to get it in order to get it on the November 2020 ballot. So it would behoove a city council if they want to set the rules to go ahead and do it. Otherwise, the people are going to do it with no, no cap maybe or something like that.
Thank you.
Why not?
Thank you for your question. Does anyone else have any questions?
I haven't heard anybody's, I guess it's for the GLNR people, do you sell plants? Or do you just sell products?
We do not sell the plants themselves or seeds. We just sell the final product, which would be the harvested and cured flower, and then the different infused products.
Would there be somewhere to, when you talk about you can have 12 plants, where would I get a plant?
There is going to be a facet of the industry that will open up for that is nurseries. We have a hemp nursery that we do supply genetics through seeds and clones. And then we also have seeds and clones available of medical cannabis through our convention center in Traverse City.
So eventually it'll be available.
Yes, and the rules will allow for them to be sold at the retail establishment under the adult use law.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thanks for being here. Fiscal year 2020 medical marijuana operation and oversight grants. Midland is showing $25,000 available. Can you explain any of that?
Oversight
It's grant money.
grants, okay. Well, some of the tax money that has been brought in through the sales to patients and caregivers were allocated for that sort of thing. That's the act that the legislature passed. It's kind of evolved into more inspections and that sort of thing, even though a caregiver should not even be subject to inspection. Caregivers should be able to grow in any enclosed lot facility, and local ordinances are preempted by the state law that allows patients and caregivers to grow in an enclosed lot facility. So perhaps but now under the adult use, there'll be a different set of revenue. It's sort of supplanting the medical one. That 3% actually that had been collected under the Medical Act has sunsetted, and now the 10% only is applying. And you have to have a retailer or a micro business that includes a retail component in your city or township in order to get any of that tax revenue. So under the medical one, it was any type of license. Some townships were like not allowing the provisioning centers, the retail, and just still benefiting from the tax revenue. But under the adult use, that won't work. You have to allow retail for the municipalities to get any of the tax revenue. It goes to the state, and then it's kind of divided depending only to the cities that adopt ordinances to permit it for retail.
I guess, sort of what I read up here was, it was based on how many cards were in the county. So money was coming back into Midland because of the amount of people who have medical cards, and it's available grant money, and the county just has to, all the counties.
Oh, yeah, that might be under the medical marijuana act.
They just, you have to list what it's going to be used for. That's sort of what I'm asking. That's a lot of money sitting out there.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure exactly how the program is allocating that back, but there is basically they keep reducing the fees, and they've collected more money than they know what to do with under the medical marijuana program. So now they're looking at ways to spread that back out. So it's allowing communities to apply for some of the money back based on the residents in their community that have been paying into the program. The other aspect of that tax is the 3% he talked about. So even though Midland as a city doesn't have any, Midland as a county gets taxes back based on if there were any resident things in the outline. So if any of the smaller towns, say around Midland, had licenses, they would also be able to get revenue back.
Think about the cards that are in those areas, right? Cards for addresses that was purchased in those areas.
Well,
They
that
take
Perry,
that
is
same
that
county,
is
so
there, like, Perry, we can't.
That's not areas, there's a fund side.
Yeah, right, for different areas, when you go in, you get your medical marijuana card and everything, you pay $60 into the state and everything. Well, those cards are tracked in these areas where, like Midland, or wherever the cards are in there, they take a certain percentage out of those cards for that area.
Yeah, because I read there's, I think, $3 million throughout the state, and Midland has almost $26,000 available to utilize.
Right, and that's what the medical marijuana cards did and everything, and then it's up to that city council or whatever in that area to utilize what they're going to use those funds for, which, they could sit on that money for, who knows, under that medical marijuana, where with our recreational marijuana, that 10% taxes that has to go to roads and education. That's what was in the language that we adopted when we did the recently legalized Prop 1.
Actually, when it passed in 2008 and these funds started coming into municipalities, unfortunately, they used it for law enforcement, and patients and caregivers were being raided for years and years for growing maybe one too many clones. Oh, God forbid. Felony, 14-year felonies they're facing. So we put an end to that with the ballot initiative. So, they used to be chasing that money for that. But we're done with that chapter in human history.
So we can use it for anything with law enforcement, feed kids at school, and
Yeah.
need some extra money.
And maybe they should, if there's any contaminated lots, they should plant some hemp. At every nuclear spill or major accident, they always plant industrial hemp because it's an
Right,
soaks it up. And, they should do that with it here.
Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Can you come forward if you want? Okay, I'll bring the mic to you.
No problem.
Just a real quick follow-up question. It sounds like we have Bay City, Saginaw, Colony as far as areas that are going to sell or be involved. What about?
And Chesapeake.
Chesapeake.
Is there anything happening at all? Do they have any interest in selling?
Where?
North of Midland?
Oh, north of Midland, yes, there are provisioning centers.
North of Midland, yeah. Rogers City, right, and Tawas, all along 23. If you take 23 along there, you'll find them in Tawas. Another place, was it south of Tawas?
Pincani.
Or north? Okay, Pincani.
Linwood, they're all right.
Linwood.
13, M13. If you take that,
Okay.
there's about 1 every 4 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, so quite a few. They're starting to pop up all over.
And they're getting the money that other areas could use as well.
If there's a built-in, customer base. It's not like we haven't been smoking this already. People are already smoking this. Just because we just legalized it, it's not like, there's no consumer base. We've been there for decades. We've just been oppressed.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Sorry, I've only been in the state for 2 months. We came from Texas, so I'm kind of starting out
Welcome.
from zero on this. you're talking about 10%, is that 10% like on top of
No.
sales tax and things like that?
No, that's 10% period, it's a cap of 10%.
No.
Sales tax.
Yeah, it's on top of.
It is
the
on
sales
top of
tax
the
plus
sales tax.
10%.
At the retail sale.
Right.
So it'd be 16
Yeah,
total.
so it's actually 6%, and then you add that 6% sales tax first, and then 10% of that.
So what are the projected tax revenue for the state for the next year?
Well, in the first week, it was 270,000 in the first week,
1.6
off
million.
1.6
Yeah,
million in sales revenue.
In 8 days at 5 retail shops.
In 8 days, and that was only 5 retail.
5 retail,
Okay.
There's
1.6
gonna
million.
be thousands of these.
So if Midland is does not have a dispensary or
A retailer.
retail set, do they get part of that?
No.
So they lose the money?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the black market comes into Midland and they,
right. Of course, they're not charging 10% tax.
no.
They're selling opioids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and often you don't know what you're getting when you're doing the black market. You don't know how if the smoke is actual, I'm sorry.
If the smoke is actually, at what they say it is, if the quality is what they say it is, you don't know all that. It could be based or anything like that. That's what the problem would be with the black market. That's why we want the communities to have the safe legal market, so that we cut down. Like I said, it's going to be bad enough with the black market with the underage. To begin with, we're going to have a problem with that. No matter what, the law enforcement's going to have to fight that. We don't want to have a problem with the black market in other counties with 21 and over too, and have to fight that along with it. But like I said, with the black market, you don't know exactly what you get in the consumer themselves, and it could be anything, and that's sometimes it leads to a lot of sickness and injuries and different things like that.
Jerry, you have another question?
Luckily, we avoided this vape crisis,
Yeah,
because all of our stuff's tested and labeled, and now they even made it more strict, the testing.
Okay, when you do talk about testing, what exactly are you testing for? I mean, impurities and things, but are you testing for THC levels? Or?
Yes, THC,
So that would be on the
CBD.
label?
Yes, and the terpene profile, which is a very advanced, the most advanced medical research lately has been tying it all together, not only the endocannabinoid system in our body, it also processes the cannabinoids, and then there's the terpenes have an effect.
So they are testing, so they're not only testing for potency of THC and CBD, but depending on the type of product, they're also testing for microbials like molds and yeast. A lot of the black market product is very moldy, and that's really not good to consume, especially if you have a compromised immune system. They're also testing for water activity. They're testing for heavy metals. There's product out there that has arsenic, chromium, a lot of these really other potentially hazardous materials, and then they're also testing for the pesticides that are used, black market, to deal with these molds. They're putting these really dangerous chemicals on them that, especially when combusted or added with heat, turn into something even more dangerous. So they're testing for a wide variety of these
vitamin
things.
E in the vape.
And then with the vape pens, it's the vitamin E acetate is what has been identified as
Vitamin
causing a lot of
E
these,
crystallizes in your lungs.
yeah,
And,
causing the popcorn lung.
right.
If you haven't had the pleasure of going to a dispensary and purchasing it, it's not, you know exactly what you're getting. There's a label, just like on the back of your food, and it has everything listed there, so the person that you're buying it from is a reputable source. So it's just like going to the grocery store and looking at the information on the back of it to determine if it's too much sodium, because you have a low sodium diet, it's the same thing.
And when you go to a legal place to get your product and stuff, if there's something wrong with that product, you go back to that place and complain or whatever, and you know, get it corrected or reported or whatever you need. Where in the back, you can't do that.
And one other thing I understood is that, like in Colorado, people from outside the state cannot, or are not supposed to buy.
No,
From
that's
what
not
I'm
true.
sure. That's not true.
They are allowed.
Yeah,
They're
I'm from Colorado. I lived in Colorado for years, and I got friends there, and I talk to them at least twice a week or so, and I keep up with that in Colorado. Yeah, they have all kinds of outstairs that come in there and buy and everything.
Okay, but, and they can transport it back to like Texas or something? I mean, will you be able to do that here in Michigan?
Yes.
Anybody can come in,
Well, if you
buy whatever product they want.
If you cross the state line, once you've purchased the product, you're breaking federal law. It's not legal for you to take Michigan product back to Illinois, right? But we do accept Illinois' medical marijuana card in Michigan. So they can come in if they have a medical marijuana card from Illinois or Ohio, and they can purchase from the medical marijuana provisioning centers. It's called reciprocity. So their cards are valid here. Under the REC program, 21 and up, anyone with an ID that proves that they're over 21, but you can't take that out of the state to Ohio where it's illegal to cross state lines. So as long as they're in the state, they can use it. You can't grab a bunch and take it back home illegally.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, that was a good question.
Have you hit back
Sarah,
to
did you have
Texas?
any?
No.
Oh, we're living here.
Did you have anything?
Yeah.
Kit, do you want to?
Well, thank you for being here. You've been very knowledgeable. I've had an experience with my own life, medically, and then my dog had a vestibular attack, as the veterinarian says. If anybody's not familiar with vestibular issues, human beings can also get it. It's a vestibular equals balance. And it has a peripheral and it also has a central, which is deals with the medulla, or your spinal cord located right here. And so if you get a tumor in there or whatever, it could be cancer, but when you're dealing with a dog, okay, MRIs and CT scans are quite, well, they're out of range for a person that lives on limited income. So I'm from Detroit. I'm out of the 60s, so I was known as a flower child. And I don't really have, I knew this day would come. I just didn't know when, and I'm glad I'm still alive to see it. And my question is CBD. There seems to be all the research, CBD has either CBD, hemp, CBD oil, hemp oil, you know, infused with omega 3, 6, and 9 that benefits people like me and my dog. I have neurological issues myself. I'm a recovering Lyme disease patient, so I've got a lot of internal issues, you know. And as I get older, things are getting worse. So I'm almost thinking. I spoke with my vet yesterday. Fortunately enough, she said I can't prescribe it, but I'm not going to tell you not to. So, what would you recommend for somebody? And where do you buy it? Where, I mean, what, I'm afraid that I'm gonna get some off the market, you know, with what she was just talking about. I'm so afraid of getting something that's not 100% what, so it doesn't hurt me or my dog, because my dog and I are gonna go on this weekend.
All right.
So I can tell my doctor when I see him on the 3rd, this is what I'm doing. And you can test everything out on me in 68 weeks. And if I don't have any of this, and I'm jogging with you on the weekends, well then we've got something to talk about. So what would you recommend? I mean, I just want to have something that's, I want to know where to go.
Knowing your source is very important. And again, like I said, a lot of the stuff is imported. A lot of companies look at, you know, they're looking at the bottom line instead of looking at a patient approach. So you really want to know your source. Every year there's a number of CBD companies that are cited by the FDA for making false or bold medicinal claims or having product that doesn't contain the amount of CBD that's in it. This industry is an unregulated industry. There's a lot of garbage out there. Don't buy it at the gas station. Don't buy it at the video. You know, you want to look for some key things on the label that'll say full spectrum, right? Don't look for pure CBD. Don't look for CBD isolate. Look for something that says full spectrum. Just because it says full spectrum doesn't mean it is full spectrum, but at least, again, it's an unregulated industry. We can print and say whatever we want. You know, I do have 2 local retail locations in Midland that do carry our products, so you can, you know, look us up or talk to us later about that, and we can direct you to those locations as well. And you know, as well as our online sales, you can call our office, we can ship it to you. We can coordinate directly to you to get you more dialed into what you would need based on your dose of your treatment. I have worked with a number of Lyme disease patients. The biggest thing that I get for feedback is increased focus, concentration, and the ability to complete their tasks at hand.
That would be wonderful.
Those are the biggest things
I
lost.
had a hard time
because of
getting
the
here, and I just live in walking distance.
So it can be very, very beneficial for both you and your dog. I have a 3-pound Pomeranian that's been on CBD since she was 6 months old because she has a kidney deformed, undeveloped kidney. So because of that kidney disease, and the vet can't believe that she's still alive. She's 4 years old now. So, you know, there's a lot of different aspects, and CBD, what it does is it reprograms on a cellular level to return to normal cellular function. So it doesn't necessarily matter what the condition is, and it is something or a reason we do. We normally wouldn't say anything is a cure-all or a fix-all, but with CBD, it really has the ability to reprogram on a cellular level anything that may be going on in your body. It returns the body to homeostasis, which is normal cellular function. So returning all systems to the way they're supposed to function. We've seen it even regulate diabetes, so people insulin intake changes or even limits, stops, because the body regulates its own systems.
Right.
Thank you.
Is that everybody know that the cannabinoids that's in marijuana and that our bodies already create that itself. We're just adding to it when we ingest cannabis, and we're actually adding to it, and we have the THC, the cycle effect, with the high or the alpha, like with the CBD. But our bodies are actually forms the cannabinoid itself. That our bodies, you know, our body want the cannabinoids from it. Because our bodies perform it naturally on their own without the the high effect, of course. And with the CBDs and typically to your body stuff, that helps the effect of your natural CBD bodies to boost them up to help fight whatever you're fighting, you're trying to fight in the bodies.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for your question.
Later.
Yeah, I just had one thing to add, ma'am. I might be able to help you with the my name's Catherine. I'm a licensed veterinary technician for 30 years, and we are just starting to explore cannabis use in dogs and cats, and it's a lot of veterinarians don't want to deal with it because they don't know enough about it. But there's a lot of benefits for animals, but they're still trying to figure that out. There are some veterinarians that are pioneering doses and pioneering effects and trying to figure out, give people a rough idea, because people don't know how much and for what. And that's the problem. We don't have like a dosing, we don't have an established dosing, but they're working on that, and they're getting some good rough guidelines. So I can give you some information, because one of the technicians I work with went to a major conference down in Florida last year, and they had quite a large, they had quite a few classes just on cannabis and products and how to use it and so on and so forth. But I can, like at the end here, I can get your information, and I can give you some information as far as websites and doctors and places you can check, so you have some sort of reference point for your dog's
Could we
condition.
get your name and location? Because as a community television, we aren't allowed as nonprofit to give the members' websites and specific, but we can give your name of the business and the city, and people can look that up.
I did not check with my employer
Okay.
before doing
But
that.
you can talk to her when the cameras
I will
are
talk,
on.
yes, because
Because
before I
they
do
will be-
anything like that, I need to speak
they'll-
with my employer.
We'll let you know
So-
when the cameras are off, and then folks will have an opportunity
Okay,
to talk about this further.
okay, great. All right.
Are there any more questions? Go ahead.
It came up earlier, the concept of micro-business for the panel. Can you enlighten the group as to what that might be all about?
So a micro-business is an adult-use commercial license where you're permitted to cultivate 150 plants. You're also allowed to process, make extractions or medibles or topicals, and you also have a retail component, all at the same location. All these transfers likewise get entered in the seed to sale, even from your own garden to your own processing lab and into your own retail. But you have the $6,000 application fee, and then there's an two-step application process. And you don't need a facility for the first step. Once you're pre-qualified, you can obtain a facility, but you shouldn't file the step 2 until you're ready for inspection. You're actually able to open. Your local permitting and everything has been accomplished. The license, the price for that, after the $6,000 application fee, that applies to all license types. When you pass inspection and you're actually handed the license, it's an $8,000 annual license fee. So it's less expensive. The other ones are like $66,000 all last year. They just came down to 56 and 44 and 30 under the medical, but they're a little bit less under the rec.
So is there an analog to microbrewery there worth mentioning?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the whole idea. You're actually, one limitation to the micro business or strength is that you're not part of the wholesale market. Your grower doesn't sell to other places. You make everything that you sell only the things that you make. And so it is like a micro brewery.
So the only downside of that, it is like a microbrewery, so you are able to do that within your own business. You cannot wholesale in from other licensed vendors, so the element of running out of product is definitely a concern there. With only 150 plants and supplying that to your processing as well as selling the flower, they're not going to be able to produce as much as a larger state licensed facility.
Looks like this
That
is
does
the
depend on the grower.
It would make it easier in tweaking the system once it's federal law.
There's also a consumption establishment license. Also, these places will be able to deliver themselves to homes by their employees, but there's a new license that's being floated in the proposed rules called a delivery business license, where they would have a separate license and they can deliver on behalf of retailers or micro businesses. So that's at least in the draft rules. And
that was a good idea. Thanks for that.
so the consumption lounges, they can't sell marijuana. So ideally you want that next door to your micro business. Retailers, marijuana retailers can deliver into a designated consumption establishment. There's also a temporary event license, and micro businesses will be able to set up as vendors at temporary events. And it's $500 per day of the event. They can run as long as 7 days, and it's $500 per micro business vendor. And the license price on that is $1,000. You get a temporary event organizer license.
Oh, Jerry said you make that back in a day. Are there any more questions?
I have a question about THC test. Like if you're pulled over, and if they have suspicion, and there's no test, there's no reliable test for THC, and I know they have not set legal limits for THC. They decided not to do that.
Yeah, the National Highway Traffic Safety studied this for a long time. There's no direct correlation like there is with alcohol.
Yeah.
So, but it's still against the law to drive under the influence, and they have to prove that by proving some, recklessness or some proof that you're not driving or consuming in the car or something. All this can be added as evidence to a case of driving under the influence, as well as blood levels. They look at the nanograms per milliliter, but that's not a per se level. So they have to sort of make a combination of factors to convince.
It's stored in the body. But I did recently talk to a bar about this, and the bar owner knows that a lot of the patrons use marijuana and is concerned about making it legal because of increase. And I said, do you really think your patrons are going to already use, and they're using something that's unregulated in many cases? And so a lot of people that were sitting around that heard our conversation agreed.
In Colorado, I did Colorado 23 years, and I have friends in Colorado, I keep up with them. But in Colorado, they've had no problems, the state patrols had no problems with DUIs, with marijuana. I think they had anything with marijuana, it was alcohol involved, DUI, and other things, but they've had no problems. Matter of fact, they said that their DUIs have decreased there in Colorado since the legalization of marijuana.
That's true. That's absolutely true, and that's one of the fallacies out there. Is there was a study by a paper, I'm not going to name, that was outside the Colorado area that came in and reported some fake news. But the Colorado was on top of that and made sure the right news got out.
Hi, thanks for being here. I'm Stephanie. I have a question about cottage food law and making edibles. Now, with your business that you have locally, you said you're a seed to sale processing soap. I make great blueberry muffins, okay? And I make kick-ass blueberry muffins. But I currently run the farmers market here in Midland. We have a lot of cottage food law bakeries. You can't sell cottage food into a retail establishment, so I know that doesn't apply. But if I were to lease a bakery, how could one in Midland, could I become an edibles bakery and then sell it to retail outlets like you if I became a processor? Is that, I mean, I'm sure there's licensing that's involved, but the only thing I've read, I've not seen anything specifically related to like a bakery.
If you were a caregiver, you could go around that route. If you wanted to get a state licensed facility, you'd have to go through the full background check, the step 1s and the step 2s in order to. You'd also have to have your full kitchen on camera. So there's a lot of capitalization that's needed to build out the infrastructure in order to do a cannabis bakery.
Do you have baked goods? Do you sell them at your
we currently don't sell baked goods, but we do facilitate caregiver product, and so we do get chocolate chip cookies, brownies, and that kind of thing that we do get through our system that caregivers have created. We get it tested, put in the system, and then sell on to provisioning centers.
Oh, okay. So it's not actually processed at your facility. It's a licensed bakery or?
We don't do the baked goods, but we do. We will be producing edibles, mostly of like the softies, gummies, kind of variety.
Oh, thank you.
And as such,
Something that can make your life easier in pursuing that is you can obtain the oil from another processor.
Okay.
So initially the law was growers could only sell to processors, and processors could only sell to retailers, and growers could sell to both. But they didn't allow it back and forth, so they changed that. Now there are processor sales, and grower sales are permitted to exchange genetics and that sort of thing. So like a baker like that, in fact I was on the committee for processing with the state, and I said, you know, you don't want to make the baker, force the baker to learn how to be an extractor. They might blow themselves up, and you don't want the oil maker to have to bake the baked goods, or they might not taste good, you know.
Right.
So let's allow for that.
Is there, in this, not specifically in Midland, but in our state, is there a need for that? Is that something with being on the ground level, basically, of this industry? I would think that would be another venue that might be viable, that you could, you know, Michigan made.
Right. As Sarah mentioned, the main product that we get into our facility is from caregivers throughout the state. They seem to really be taking over the market for that on a larger scale. And when I say larger, we're talking tens and tens and tens of thousands of them a week. So, and you know, we get calls from caregivers every day wanting to bring their products to our facility, and a lot of them are bakers making gummies and, as Sarah said, cookies and things like that.
But as an adult over the age of 21, you could, in your own home, bake some goodies for yourself and share them with your friends that are over the age of 21, as long as you're not taking money for it.
Absolutely. All right, thank you.
Sell the t-shirt.
It's so much easier if they just.
Part of the ballot initiative, the law that's in effect right now, is any adult can gift up to 2.5 ounces of marijuana to another adult. The translation for like brownies, it's 16 ounces to 1 toward your 2.5 ounce limit. So 40 ounces of brownies are permitted to be possessed. And if it's in liquid form, if a marijuana infused product is in liquid form, it's 36 ounces to 1 toward your 2.5 ounces. So you can possess up to 90 ounces, or like a 6-pack of marijuana infused drink.
So have the scale handy. Are there any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, thank everyone for coming. And this wraps up our Cannabis Town Hall. Thank you, Pam, for being here.